All right, welcome to the September 4th OpenJ9 community call. As usual, please add your name and affiliation so we know who's been attending the meetings. And as usual, we'll start things off by opening up for any community-based discussion. See a lot of the usual suspects, so there may not be a lot of items here, but if there is anything, let's tackle it now. All right. If somebody comes up with something, you know, like we can always circle back here. Or if people have ideas for lightning talks, it might be a good time to get something added in there as we come back into September and things pick up again after the usual slowdown over the summer. It would be good to get some more lightning talks scheduled. So let's take a look at some of the recent user raised issues. We have a Scala related JIT issue. Which looks like it's being investigated, which is great. We have an update there. A GPF when the Lombok framework is used. It's got core files. We'll have to make sure somebody takes a look at this. This was raised as a bug that came about. It was discovered after fixing a different user-raised bug with signals in Jython, so we'll have to dig deeper into that as well. This particular one, all right, so this one we're again investigating. So we've got getting more crashes in that list of things from user-raised issues, which is not great, but we'll continue to try to clean those up. All right. Did anyone have any comments or want to discuss any of the user-raised issues further? Either the ones we looked at already or...
Did you look at all the ones in the last 2 weeks? Because I don't think there was a call last week.
I had taken a look at most of them previous to that. So I believe we've looked at this one. The consume all XXArgs. Jack has listed some of the arguments that are not handled there, so we should get that fixed. The assertion reading the field ID during watched fields, I believe, is a crash with the old code prior to the the new field watch support that's been enabled. We will eventually remove the old code once all platforms support it. I believe the ones lagging right there now are ARM as we bring it up, and RISC-V as we haven't got the JIT there yet.
Okay, I see a lot of user-raised issues that don't have any milestones, so I'm just worried that we're going to possibly forget about some of these and not complete them.
Agreed. We've been letting them linger without assigning them to milestones. We'll need to take a pass through that and fix that. I can take a look at some of them after the call. If there are others who have particular ones that you want to look at, go ahead and I'll do the cleanup pass after that. Make a note here. Thanks, Peter. That was a great suggestion. All right. Andrew, thank you for the graph showing the OpenJD or the adopt OpenJDK downloads. We're seeing the OpenJ9 downloads are increasing, which is good. Our percentage share of the downloads seems to have peaked. What's the x-axis on this?
That's by day, so it's only over this last short period. Remember, we only started this 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think we need to keep gathering points for a couple of months so to see a real trend.
Yeah,
all is up.
Is this tracking both 8? Well, is this tracking 8 and 11 and?
Yes, all of them, and Docker pulls and homebrews, what we call them.
Is it possible to get the same data split by release as well?
I could do. This was something crude I saw knocked up. I mean, if you go to the dashboard, it does give you the raw breakdown numbers, finer detail. So you might actually have the numbers you want for individual releases there already. Obviously not in a historic graph though.
Yeah, the dashboard does a great job showing the current download numbers, but it lacks the history.
Yeah, yeah.
Being able to track that history, because we expect the download numbers to keep going up as people continue to download things. So it's the rate at which they're going up that's the particularly interesting piece of information there.
Yeah, I mean, if there's particular releases, obviously 8 and 11 separate would be obvious ones.
Yes. Yeah, the additional.
That's where the main downloads are at the moment, 8 and 11.
Yeah, I think in particular tracking the LTS releases is the most interesting piece, because that drives how long we want to support those releases and how long people are continuing to download and use them.
Yeah. All right, let me try and set a job going that will record the 8 and 11 ones. I'll try and do that tomorrow.
All right, thanks, Andrew.
All right.
Any other comments or discussion on the download stats?
Do we know if the official Docker images are being tracked as part of this yet?
Not sure about that, actually. I have to check.
Okay.
All right, so let's talk about our releases. These 0.15.1 release, which has been done for quite some time now, has been waiting on sort of two things. There was the intention to rebuild the Mac OS build to handle the notarization changes that have come about from Apple. The changes were put in and then backed out due to issues with the builds after having enabled them. And I believe the investigation into that is ongoing, but there's no actual resolution there yet. So we'll keep this item here mostly to track the Mac OS update status there. In terms of 0.16, we branched the 0.16 release. We've done the initial milestone build. Thank you to Andrew and Simon for having run that build at Adopt so that we could catch some of the JDK 13 testing. We've had a couple of test failures come out of that, particularly around some of the new string indent methods. And there's pull requests open now to take a look at those. So that's coming. And we're targeting another milestone build September the 10th, which gives us, 5 days? So it would be really good if we could get that build done the morning of the 10th. We'll try and get the OpenJ9 tags created for that the day before, so that we're ready, or I guess from that night's build, so that we're ready to to get a build out and ready and tested to make sure we're passing the things we should be passing and ready for the release. Does that sound like something we can do, that we'll be able to have all the people lined up, both at the OpenJ9 project and the extensions repos and adopt to get those builds out the door?
I would say that's true of for the adopt builds, sure.
Good to hear. I think either Peter or I should be able to get the tags added for the builds from that night, so should have no issues or concerns there.
Right, so we're going to look at the builds from Sunday night and create the tags on Monday.
Yes.
So the builds can start Monday and complete by Tuesday.
Yes.
I'm wondering about advertising these milestone builds. So there's a link in one of the Slack channels, but I'm not sure we really announced it more than that. And I don't see a way to get at the Java 13 builds from the Adopt website. I mean, you can find it if you have the link, but there's no OpenJDK 13 nightly build or anything.
No, I think the aim was to just publish it on the Slack.
Yeah.
Andrew, I wasn't here last week. Did the builds get named as named releases rather than just nightlists? What happened to that?
They were named nightly, so they do have the milestone name at the JDK 13 binaries.
Yeah, JDK 13 plus 33, OpenJ9 016 M1.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Good. So, yeah, what we've done in the past is advertise them either on the Eclipse or the Adopt Slack channels.
Yeah, I think we need to find a way to advertise them more broadly in the hopes that people can pick them up and run with them, provide some feedback in that time period between when we've made the build and when we're ready to release. Slack is a good starting point, but maybe we should be advertising them on our mailing list and finding other communities that are larger that we can get more interest in picking them up and testing them out. So if people have thoughts or ideas there, I think it would be a good thing for us to look at further is how to advertise the milestone builds better.
Did OpenJ9 tweet about it?
No, but that's a good one to make use of as well.
I guess we could consider having someone write a quick blog, just a very simple blog article about it. Have a one paragraph description of it. Maybe, I don't know.
Yep. Target. All right, that's a great idea. Especially if we have that blog, we can then socialize it at Reddit and the like. In terms of AIX support, we still don't have the builds working on XLC16. There's an open pull request as part of the milestone that needs some further work, I believe, to get it ready.
Yeah, there's also another JIT change that's needed. I can't remember exactly. There's a missing include or something. So we have a suggestion on how to fix it, but I'm not sure anybody's actively working on it this week.
All right, I'll add the link from this to there. as things stand, I'm not sure we're going to have AIX ready for the JDK 13 release date. It may be something we have to pick up in the 13.1 release or 13 update 1 release.
Plus, I think AIX is broken at Adopt anyways, and just in general. We haven't been able to update the last release with AIX.
Stuart and I are working on it at the moment. We've discovered some areas of problems on the Adopt machines. We're just clearing it up at the moment.
Is there an issue or something tracking?
Yes. Several issues. 2 issues. I'll find them and put them somewhere in your document.
If you can add the links here, that would be appreciated.
Yeah.
Do you have an outlook on when those machines should be back on, or back to being able to build?
Possibly this evening. So yeah, that's if what we're currently doing fixes it.
Right.
Where in this document do you want me to put those?
Just where I've added the word links here, under the AIX needs XLC 16 support. It's part of the,
okay, yeah.
All right, I'm just going to pull the milestone plan up for a minute. We can take a look at what items are there, make sure that we're closing out the things that have to be resolved for the release. So we have the pull request for the Java 13 string methods, which I believe will help address some of the problems with the strip indent. So that should get resolved. We have the issue tracking the release, which currently lists what we've tagged and branched from, so I'm not worried about that. There is this pull request around checking packages, which we've had some discussion around, and I'm not sure is quite ready to merge yet. So I'll take the action to follow up on that one.
Did somebody new pick up that work?
No, there was some comments from Peter that I haven't had a chance to go through in detail yet to make sense of. I'm still somewhat concerned about the approach being taken there, and haven't had a chance to dig through the module code yet to make sure that it's the right approach. The check annotations failure is not what I'm aware of. This is a timeout in the test. The test has been excluded. Okay. We'll have to see if we can get somebody to take a look at this. Otherwise, we may have to push this out to the next milestone. All right. The AIX toolchain we've talked about. This is the issue that maps to the pull request around the check packages and unnamed module. I reached out to Hung this morning to confirm he's got a PR for this because he's indicated he believes he's found the race condition that may be the cause of that. This one is a JIT crash. And Gita believes it's been fixed, which is good news. We'll just need to confirm that. This particular one, when I say this, helps if I identify what I'm looking at. The array blocking cube white box Java crashes on Mac OS is actually an interesting case where we have a particular class that we're overwriting the end of the wrong class with. not sure why we're only seeing this on Mac OS, but it seems to be an issue with the way we've added extra alignment into the ROM class to meet requirements from shared classes, and somehow we're now overrunning the end of the allocated block. So we've been trying to track down what's happened there. We have a theory, and someone's working away at trying to validate that. And then this one I don't know either. The log4j context factory. Does anyone have context on this?
Just a long-standing NPE that we were intermittently getting. I don't know if it's still occurring.
I'm going to move this out of the milestone, and we can target it for milestone 17 and take care of it there.
I don't think it's shared classes related. It pretty much happens in any test because anything running using STF, because STF gets the logger and then the logger gets the NPE.
Oh, okay. All right, so we may need to get somebody other than Hung to take a look at that as he's looking at some of the other shared classes items. So, and then our last item here is the, again, related to AIX. So our list is...
For the record, I just pinged Julian about that. So look into that header file that needs to get included. He hadn't noticed the app mentions in the issue. So.
Well, there's an internal issue that discusses it. There's no reason for it to be internal, but that's where it ended up. So I think we have a suggestion on what to do, and Julian may have spoken up. I think Julian answered in the internal issue. Maybe we just need to copy the decision from the internal issue into the open issue.
Yeah, he wasn't aware of the external issue, so maybe that's the first step.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, so that's getting us down to a fairly small list. Just ask everybody who owns these issues or is sitting close to people working on them to provide whatever support they can to get this list closed out as we rapidly come up on our release date.
A few bookkeeping things. We did get permission from Eclipse today to actually have the release, so that's good. We don't have a build for the release, but I'll create that today. In the past, we've just run it on the weekend, although I might try to sneak one in before the weekend just to make sure everything's going to go smoothly for the next milestone. And for AIX, we don't actually have XLC 16 installed on our OpenJ9 machines, so Violetta was going to take a look at that.
Is XLC 16 installed on the Adopt machines?
I think so. I think Stuart looked into that already, but it'd be good to confirm that.
Great.
Did Stuart join the call today?
No, he hasn't. So need to follow up with him offline. Is there any other things we should discuss around the 0.16 release?
Not for 16, but maybe for 17. I just wanted to mention that the OMAR project is looking at doing its first release, just as a kind of line in the sand kind of release, because the OMAR project hasn't done any releases yet. I don't know whether OpenJ9 wants to look at consuming that release or not. Right? We have to discuss that, I think, as just kind of an open topic for us. We obviously haven't needed a release up until this point to release OpenJ9, so we could just continue taking pull requests and choosing our point at which to create our release. The proposed date for the OMAR release is October 4.
So that would be after the branch date for the 017 release. So we would branch at the end of September.
Interesting. Okay. Well,
But the 23rd, I think, would be the branch date.
Yeah. All right. So it's not a perfect lineup. Like I said, we don't have to use this for our release, but it's something that's happening. Interesting. I wonder if we could make that line up.
Mark, before we go through heroics to make things line up,
No heroics.
we should probably
not suggesting any heroics yet.
should probably confirm that that's actually something, we see a benefit in pulling the releases.
Yeah, sure.
Given the way we've been doing development and the joint development we've been doing, or the cross repo changes, I'm not sure stabilizing on a particular OMR release buys us anything.
Well, it might if it lines up for a release. I mean, I guess the point was that if we're going to be branching anyway to do our release, why not choose something that the OMR project has called a release, right? However, if it doesn't line up, it doesn't line up. Like I said, it's a line in the sand. We don't necessarily have to consume them because we haven't been doing anything special around that yet. So I'm bringing it up as a topic to discuss.
Unless we're partly allowing OpenJ9 to drive the content that goes into the release, like there could be last-minute changes needed for the OpenJ9 release. That would mean OpenJ9 may base on the OMR release, but add in additional fixes that didn't make the release.
Yep.
In which case, what was the point of using the release at all?
Well, you could make that argument for any project.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're ever going to move OMR to a project that we consume, I think it's, again, we don't have to do it on this particular release, but I think it would be a better interaction model for the two projects, albeit forcing us to do some dual maintenance of fixes in our project and at the OMR project.
So one advantage I could think of is the scenario we had for the last security update release for OpenJ9. We couldn't use OMR security vulnerability reports because there were no releases to say where they were fixed. So it basically duplicated the security vulnerabilities to OpenJ9.
Yep.
Yeah, what would the support model be for an OpenJ9 build? Would we take an OMR release and maintain that release as we continue development? Would we try and make them line up just on release dates, or and take the bleeding edge the rest of the time?
Yeah. So I think that those are great questions, and we would decide those, I think, depending on how OMR decides to do releases, right? Right now OMR is doing one release, and it happens to line up fairly closely with our next release. So I think we can test this out for this release and see how it goes, and then we can provide input into the process into the OMR project to see how that might work better going forward for the OpenJ9 project, etc.
Okay. Yeah, it's something for us to continue to look at and think about.
Yep.
If there's value for both projects in doing this. I'll skip over the JDK Next repo piece and ask for an update, or the usual update on adopt. I don't see Shelley on the call, so Simon?
Just to go back over something we discussed, I have spoken with Stuart, and we do have XLC 16 on at least one AI Xbox at adopt, which is banked appropriately.
Okay, excellent. Any other update on business from Adopt?
Personally, I've been away, so I'm not able to report very much. There seem to be a few build failures that need looking into at the moment, especially as we run up to the milestone builds. So I'll be looking into why they might be going awry.
Okay.
There seems to have been quite a lot of work being done on the pipelines again, so perhaps it's stuff going on there. The trouble and also the advantage with communities.
Yes. All right. In terms of the next item, the contributor teams bug, they've now added support for adding people as contributors to the Eclipse project. They haven't yet added the piece that syncs that across to the GitHub repo. So we can start to collect a list of people who want to be guinea pigs for being contributors, and then we'll get them added to that. And at some point, the Eclipse sync script will be written and be able to sync them into the GitHub project, and so they'll gain some level of privileges that way. I think mainly being able to be assigned to items. So, that will be good, and we should probably use that as the starting point for taking a look at who should become new committers on the project, graduating people through contributor, and then and as they become more involved or are interested in, we look at how do we move them into becoming committers as well. We don't have Adam today, so I'm not sure that there's an update here on Jenkins, other than that it is operational and we've been running our builds through it. We're finding a couple of pain points around not being able to add new nodes or to disable nodes. But I haven't seen huge outcries or huge problems yet with the new Jenkins and the new approach here, which is good news. I don't see Sue on the call, but I do see that she's linked to a draft of what the new website might look like. So if you have feedback on this, do take a look at this and provide feedback either here or directly to Sue via Slack. I think they've done a really nice job on starting to rework our website. And so any feedback we can provide on that as they do would be appreciated. Is there any other business we want to discuss in the last sort of 5 minutes we have? All right then. Thank you, everybody, and we'll meet again next week.